Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Star Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin,
And I'm Josh.
and we have Andor to break down. Very, very exciting stuff. Can't believe it's finally here. We some of us stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch it. Some of us woke up at the crack of dawn, and then some of us are just watching it right now. Josh, what were your thoughts on it? Because I watched it first, and the entire time I was like, all right, first off, spoiler alert, we will be talking spoilers.
Spoiler alert. That's three
Yeah.
full episodes of we're
Yeah.
just gonna go back to back on these
Yeah.
spoilers.
As soon as we started watching it, I was like, Josh is gonna love this because of it had that Blade Runner like grounded vibe. It was very realistic and relatable in some ways. And I was just like, Josh and Mason are gonna love this. And then sure enough, he's like, yeah, dude, this is the best series that I've seen since Mando.
Extremely happy with it. This is literally Mando season 1 for me, of how much love I have for it already. It's absolutely blowing my mind on how much is really here to watch and be like, get invested in. My major takeaways from the show is that there is so much going on. Like, I think the best way I can describe it is, I would say that Mando season 2 and Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi are all like a simplified painting. It's all minimalism. You're always gonna hit these beats, and you're always gonna like see these same patterns come up again and again, like the whole rhyming situation. But seeing this, it was just so much actions going on, so many different plot lines, so much like of different acting. It's insane. It's like there's so much stuff going on. I feel it even more relatable than anything that's come previously. There's no one in this show that I'm going like, wow, that's obviously like that's going to be your big main character, and that's going to be someone who has like a giant outcome in the future that have giant plot armor or anything. It's just like, wow, back to back of just so much information. It's great. And we have so many new things, especially like the new droid. Love him.
Yeah. His name is B2 Emo. They have been calling him on the show, they call him B, but for all the people at home, it's especially all the people who went through that emo phase, like, love calling him Emo. But no, I thought the show was great. At the first couple episodes were kind of slow for me. It kind of makes sense why. You can definitely tell that that the person that wrote this, he has come out and said that he was not a real big Star Wars fan, and you can tell that he's coming into this project with a outsider perspective.
And that's for me, that's super fresh, because I think we talked about that maybe on the last podcast, I think, that we did, where we were like, if we could have anyone direct Star Wars, who would you have direct Star Wars? Yeah. And an example of this is where for Mad Max Fury Road, they said, I don't want another editor who's just a male who's going to do it, because it's just going to be explosions and nothing's going to like stick out. I need someone who's female and has a lighter touch on that. I want you to edit this movie. And Mad Max Fury Road won so many awards. And I was like watching this, and it was reminding me of just like, it's such a different take on Star Wars that it feels amazingly fresh. And I cannot be I'm just overjoyous in how new we have something here.
Yeah. I think once okay, so the people in the blue uniforms, they pretty much are a extension of the Empire. They are a private they're a private security force that was hired by the Empire, and they are just an extension of the Empire. Now, they're not fully out like Imperials, but they're on the fence of it to guard the planets that maybe are that important to the Empire at this time during the timeline. What did you? So this is something that I found really interesting, and David talked about it yesterday. But how did you feel about them opening up to a brothel? Because that's that's something I was not expecting to really see.
It was insane to me because it's just him walking down, and it's like the red light district in Amsterdam where they have like little dancers in the bubbles.
Yeah.
I was like, is that what I really think it is? I didn't want to press for it just yet, and then later in the episode you do get that whole drop down where it's like it's just guards at a brothel. What did you expect?
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they talked about like how the top room isn't open right now, and I was just like, going into this club, I was just like, wow, it's hitting home in the most perfect way, because I've always wanted to be able to feel like I'm in Star Wars, in media at least, and I feel like this is really pulling me into Star Wars and being I could be like, well, I could be in this situation, I could live here and feel like I can live here. This world feels very livable.
Okay. To me, I think the only thing that was missing from that entire scene was some people having some death sticks, and then boom, like perfect. But yeah, no. There were no planets in the first 3 episodes that we knew. They were completely new. Planets we saw some different species. And I'm not sure if you picked up on it, but right away I noticed that throughout the first 3 episodes that there were a lot of different species and kind of like Easter eggs pointing towards Force Awakens. There were like a lot of different like creatures.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I noticed that right away. I was like, that's like an interesting like.
The trap jaw I saw there, like the trap jaw species. I forget what it's called, but yeah.
The metal birds like that. Yeah. So I thought all that was interesting. I saw a bunch of the ships that looked familiar. There was one that looked very similar to the Outrider, but I didn't get a full like frontal view of it. But there's a lot of great potential for the show. It definitely reminded me of Blade Runner of the first couple of minutes, and you see Cassian go in there. He like ends up not getting the answer that he wants. He like finds like a small clue about his sister.
Yeah, he's looking for his sister, and we were talking about that new planet. And what did you think about the new planet? Where he originates from.
Okay, so I know when we were watching it, Matt was like, should we turn on the subtitles, because they weren't like speaking any language that we really know and like at all. Like,
oh yeah,
like
there was no subtitles or anything for it, and I was like, ooh, very fancy, very nice. It's
but did you also notice that whole village didn't have any like they didn't have any adults? It was all mainly kids.
Yeah, I want to know more about it. I think it's just the offspring of whoever's left, or who they just kind of ditched their kids when they left after the mining.
Yeah,
that was my theory. It was just like they were like, all right, we're out because we're not making any more money here. Goodbye. And I think that's after the Empire. So they were just gone.
Well, that's something that confuses me, because of if you watch like if you keep watching the show, and then in the second episode, like you like see the crash site of the ship on the planet, and you see some of the people that survived and some didn't. The actual like logo on their jumpsuits and everything is the CIS, is the Separatist Alliance.
Yep.
And they're like, and they were talking about how that planet got abandoned after the Imperial like mining stuff. Mm-hmm. So that didn't add up to me. I was confused by that because of at that point in the flashbacks, it looked like the place was already abandoned. It didn't look like the Empire like had any existence there. So I'm really curious in how they're gonna make that make sense because I was kind of confused.
That is a fair statement. So of the people that we have in the series, so who's been your favorite character so far? Because I'm extremely interested in Stellan Skarsgård's character. I can't wait to see more of him.
That was the person that I was going to say. Because of the only thing that we really know, and especially from the trailers, is that he was a senator. He's been serving in Coruscant for a bit. We know that soon we'll be seeing Coruscant. I'm hoping we see Coruscant in the next episode, and I think we'll get flashbacks for that. I love the actor, and from what we saw from the trailer, he is very invested in taking down the Empire. And this show is about like the birth of the Rebel Alliance and the rebellion. And it's funny because we got that story in Legends through The Force Unleashed. And to see it where we won't be dealing with any Jedi or like anything. Even though I think at some point I think we'll probably run into Kanan and some of the characters from Rebels because it's kind of falling into that kind of
because we know that we're going to see Saw Gerrera.
Yes.
So I'm wondering if anyone is around at that time that could jump in. But yeah, for me, I'm kind of like this show is about the world. It's not it's about the rebellion of like a whole. It's not just based on a few characters, which is something I'm very happy about. So of the 3 episodes, which one was your favorite?
Probably the third one. The I honestly love I loved the town, like of the main like city of where we see everyone from. That giant tower with that drum, loved it. Like I loved that.
Ringing the bells and stuff every morning.
Bro.
And
like
it's just like a worker town, so like everyone gets up at the same time, everyone leaves at the same time.
No, I'm curious if that drum was made out of if it's made out of Beskar or it's made out of something else, because I think Beskar makes a particular like noise, and it sounded very similar to it. So I'm hoping that is Beskar because I think that would be kind of like a cool like tie-in. I'm very hopeful for the series. Again, like I loved it. It didn't have that full Star Wars vibe to me at first until near the last episode. And I think it will going forward when the Empire actually makes its presence and everything. And I think I'll feel the same way when you get Skeleton Crew of when that show comes out.
Do we know what that Cassian like emblem is? Like the one that says Andor and it's got the little emblem on top of it. Is that the precursor to the Rebel symbol?
That is what it's looking like. That's what they're hinting at, I think. So that might be the new birth symbol for the Rebel Alliance.
Ooh. Ooh.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite scene?
I just got done
watching it was I loved when the girls in the chair and they've all taken their positions and she's just like, do you feel it? Do you feel like the uprising? I was like, it's great. It was great acting and everyone was playing their part. It was wonderful.
They have a great cast. Like that show was casted very well. You can also tell that that the show was mainly London based because there are a lot of actors in there that are from England, because there's a henchman from the first Kingsman movie that I saw in there as one of the corporate security guards, and I was like, oh, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I just started seeing like more British actors, and I was like, all right, awesome. And I'm very excited to see more planets. Do you think that we will get a planet that we've seen before besides Coruscant in the show? I think we'll probably
I
see
think we'll get.
Yavin by
I
the
think we
end of
might
it.
see Scarif.
Scarif? Okay.
I wouldn't doubt that they'd be like, all right, so like they it's like, but it's on Empire side, so they're just talking on
Yeah.
that side and like, hey, this is what we've had, what we're setting up. This is the important information, like depot.
Oh.
This is all of where we keep our libraries of important information.
Okay.
I wouldn't doubt seeing it. Yeah.
Something else that I was thinking about is they said that this is not the same Cassian that we've seen in Rogue One. He's not at that point yet, but he will be. And he did exactly what he did in the opening scene of Rogue One, where like he went and he shot the guy to like go and save himself. And he did that in the show where like he accidentally killed one. And then I was not expecting him to just walk up and just shoot the guy in the face and then run away. That was something I was not expecting. This show is,
because I mean, currently
definitely
we're seeing how much he is really out for himself.
yeah.
Where he's been gambling, but he's really just trying to figure out where his sister is. That's like where his main thing is in right
Yeah.
now. Finding out where his sister is. And do we know who's playing his sister right now?
No. As far as I know, like we don't. I was actually going to ask that. Do you think she's alive?
I think we're going to get something pretty interesting. I don't know if we're going to have another scene where you know how he was going to shoot. Was it Jyn Verso's dad? Where it's like he just shows up for a little bit and then like immediately dies. I wouldn't doubt we get like a scene like that where it's like, wow, it's reuniting for like 5 seconds.
Oh man. No, I'm excited to see more of the show. I'm excited to see the flashbacks with the clones. Because we know like we like definitely get scenes with clones. And on Coruscant, I'm excited to see more of the aftermath from Order 66. I think we'll definitely see how the galaxy has changed and the political stance. I'm thinking we'll see a cameo from Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor. It would be cool to see if Vader shows up, but I think they're trying to stay away from fan service. That's honestly like the main thing that they said. Like, we're like, we don't need to do fan service on this one. We just want it to, kind of tell its own story and everything. But if the Emperor showed up, that would be very cool. I would be very, very surprised if he didn't have some type of reference in some way, because it's the Senate. He is the Senate. It wouldn't make sense not to have him there. So here's hoping.
So what did you think of the police like side on the planet? It was actually pretty funny. We had the word like cops dropped, and I was like, that's very interesting to have in Star Wars.
Yeah. No, I again, the whole vibe for the show was very relatable and more realistic to what we see, because I wasn't expecting for the girl character where she goes over to Tim's house and then they end up spending the night together, and they also call coffee calf, which the first reference to calf was actually made at Galaxy's Edge, because now they have stuff over there, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's a fun jump in.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, cool, awesome. And I was just not expecting for them to do something like that. I'm really curious of what has changed over the years for them to do that, because Star Wars has always been specifically as George Lucas said, it was meant for 12-year-olds, not for, people who are older in their 30s and 40s. But you can definitely tell that the show is pointed more, it's pointed towards more the adult audience.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely it's more of a serious take on Star
Yes,
Wars.
a very serious take.
And for me, I know that I appreciate that a lot, is because, as we said, like, Star Wars is for everyone, and this might be another point where you get new Star Wars fans, because I remember with The Mandalorian, you had tons of people because of Baby Yoda, and it was people talking about Star Wars who had never watched any other Star Wars. You would hear it just walking around, people would just start talking about it. And I think if this is getting as much critical acclaim as I think it is right now,
Like a lot, yeah.
you could have a whole new generation of people talking about it, never seeing any other Star Wars, but only seeing this because they like it, because it's a serious take. There's stakes in it, there's relatability, and there is little comedy, but it's still there, but it's not unserviced. Like, it doesn't not fit. That's what I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, man. I'm very interested to see if the like vibe of the show stays the same for the first 3 episodes or it gets more lighthearted. But it's the team that helped write and create Rogue One are also on this show. So I think it will stay that way. I'm hoping it does, because
Well, isn't the director the one who wrote Rogue One?
yes, yeah,
So
he like did help, and like I'm I think I'll feel more of the Star Wars vibe when the Empire shows up, because I know it's Star Wars and everything, and the first time I watched it, I felt like I didn't have that full Star Wars vibe.
I think that's something that I had brought up before, where I said, like, imagine having just little stories in the Star Wars universe, where it was like the Tartakovsky, I believe it was Gennin Tartakovsky, I believe that's what it is. That, you know how the Clone Wars had those really short episodes, the old animated one.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, let's just have like a Star Wars story, but it's like just a hunting mission, and you get to watch these creatures be hunted by, and it's all like done in a certain way. It's just Star Wars creatures being hunted, and that's the tale. I thought this is kind of what I was asking for in the terms of that, where it's kind of like, yeah, it feels disconnected. There's no lightsabers on screen. There's blasters for sure, and there's Star Wars lingo, but this is stuff we've never seen. I 100% think that if you showed that first episode to people that had like little to know with Star Wars, they wouldn't know. They wouldn't know that this is Star Wars.
No. And I'm curious of why that's the way that they wanted to go. Because
I think it's because Rogue One is the Rogue One. It is stands alone and is different from the rest, and it prides itself on it so much that it's in the name, and there's no text crawl at the beginning.
No.
And I think this is another circumstance where they're like, hey, we are different. You have to either accept that, and we're going to do our own thing, which I'm extremely happy for, or not. I don't know how on earth they, like, any of the Star Wars aficionados were like, yeah, you know, that sounds great. Put a brothel in Star Wars, you know, put these dancers in the side. I was just like, we know it exists, but we never bring it up.
Yeah.
Which is so crazy that he was able to be like, you know what, this is where I'm going with it. You can either accept it or not. It's different, and it got through. I'm very surprised.
I would love for them. So the vibe that of the darker like side of things, I wish that we have this like vibe from this show in the Book of Boba Fett. Like, I wish the Book of Boba Fett was darker. Because of that character, which is so mysterious, and you know, he's a bounty hunter. and you have to be on the fence of doing bad things to be a bounty hunter because you're doing bad stuff to get paid. So it's like, boom, there you go. He is a crime lord and everything. But that show was lighthearted. It definitely was lighthearted, and I wish that show had the same vibe as this, because this like show is just very serious and it's very well grounded, and it's and if you put
Do you feel like that's a that I personally I think of Star Wars as a whole.
yeah
And I think that this is a shining, beautiful opportunity to create new stuff for new people.
yeah
And I think that the value for me goes up for the show, and the fact that this is going to introduce people to something completely new. And it's
I'm
like,
yeah
if you don't know Star Wars, great, you can jump on
yeah
anytime. I would never give that to someone for the Book of Boba Fett. I would never touch that. They would be
yeah
completely lost. But this is a brand new story in a brand new place, and it's fun because it's not only just us that gets to
right.
experience something new, which is Star Wars fans, which is amazing, but it's also the new people. But I think this whole circle of like new is very healthy. That's why I think The Mandalorian kicked off so well, is because people were like, wow, there is still so much new that we haven't experienced yet.
I definitely agree. I am very interested to see how the other shows follow this one, because I think the show Acolyte will have the same vibe as this,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm I'm kind of hoping it does, because it's taken place during a timeline where we know really nothing about, like, that territory hasn't really been seen in live action or anything, and the people on the project are not Star Wars fans. There are a decent amount of people on that show that are working on it, that are not really Star Wars fans, and they never really watched Star Wars until they started working on it. And I think that's kind of like the same vibe that they have for this show, because there are elements in Star Wars in it. There are some
For
alien
sure.
species, ships, like cool, very cool stuff. And I think the show will be better once we actually see, a stormtrooper. And I'm like, I mean, it's good now, but if you're making a Star Wars show, you still gotta have, the Star Wars like more Star Wars elements, to where the normal fan and the big fans can be like, ooh, there's a.
So you don't feel like there's enough Easter eggs in this, per se?
I'm not looking for Easter eggs. I'm looking for more of, I can. Okay, so the way that you describe the show for new fans, where like if they watch that first episode, they wouldn't have any idea that it was Star Wars.
Mhm.
That's great, but you also got to incorporate that to the Star Wars fans. So I think incorporating
What do you
some
need to
Star
know
Wars
that it's Star Wars for you?
Okay, so this is taking place during a very, very dark time in the and from that gap from Revenge of the Sith
Mhm.
to A New Hope. And I know we'll get it. I wasn't fully expecting to see most of it in the first 3 episodes, but the fact that we didn't get any of that in the first 3 episodes at all was kind of mind-blowing.
Do you feel like you have to have how to explain it? So like you feel like it has to have these elements because it's media, that like as
No.
in visual media? Because I feel like we get a lot of these stories in like the comic book series and the books, where it
Yeah.
is just an off story
Yeah.
that feels like this, but we've never seen that on screen. It is always a major player.
Right.
And that is something that I personally have I wouldn't say a problem with, but I feel like it lets down season 2 of Mando, is just how important these characters have grown to be. That's why I
Yeah.
love the first one, where everything was new, all these new characters to introduce, and then it's like the second season, like, oh, okay, oh, we got Luke, oh, we got all this. It's like, wow, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I I kind of suspected that it would go that route. Now for Andor, we know where his story ends. Like we know exactly where it leads into, because that final season will lead directly into Rogue One. And
I'm wondering how they got what the budget is for this, because it's insane, and they're doing 24 episodes.
Yeah, and on top of that, they are not filming. They're not filming in the volume. They are filming in London. So it it was very interesting to see the differences from the other shows, because this is the first Disney Plus show that wasn't filmed in Los Angeles using the volume for Star Wars, at least, because this was filmed in London, and then Acolyte is being filmed in London as well. When the other shows like Ahsoka, Skeleton Crew, I believe Skeleton Crew, yeah, like all of those shows are being filmed in Los Angeles, which Skeleton Crew is going to have. It will break the. It's the second most expensive TV show ever made, because
Behind
right
Rings of
now,
Power.
right, because Rings of Power has that slot right now, because the budget for that was like $1 billion, and then Skeleton Crew is just, there's not that much that we know about, but I'm very curious of what they're going to use that budget for.
And I know we were talking earlier, and how the comment of, oh, it's going to be dark, it's going to be gritty for Skeleton Crew, and I'm kind of wondering what that means by that. It's kind of like this show, people could just blanket statement and go, this is dark and gritty, but then they could also go and blanket statement that like it's dark and gritty. Would I say that, like, let's say an 80s movie can be dark and gritty, or it can be like Stranger Things, which the first season is dark and gritty, and then it changes. My point in that is, like, because we said that that it's related to like a Stranger Things event, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of got that, I don't know how to explain that camaraderie, and there's kids, and it's like, yeah, it's dark and gritty, but what does that mean comparatively to Andor? Because I think that they're going to be very different shows. I just think that they're going to be a different serious take on Star Wars.
I agree. That again, we don't know that much about that show, except apparently it's going to have that Stranger Things vibe. It's going to have a bunch of kids that get lost in space, even though it's not a kids show. And then you've got Jude Law in it, and it's taking place during that Mandalorian timeline. As long as it does not involve Grogu or Mando in some way, it ends up being its own thing. I think that's what we want as an audience, even though everyone's like, I want more Grogu. I want more Baby Yoda. That's great. Keep that in those shows. But I think with the budget that they have, they are going to do something that we've never seen before.
Which, yeah, oh my gosh, this show has given me so much hope for. I'm like,
yeah,
so happy, so happy.
Star Wars is evolving in ways that we never thought that they would go. And these 3 episodes are a fine example of that. I never thought we would see like something that, yeah, I mean, like, okay, so the vibe of the show that I got was like, are we watching something on HBO Max? Like, that's like the type of vibe I got from the show. I was not expecting it to be that dark and grounded.
And it was funny because we had made this comment with Mason before, who it was like, you want to see rated R content,
yeah,
but he's like, you it has to be rated R, and I said, I don't think it needs to be rated R, but I think that you can take a major serious take on Star Wars and have the Star Wars overlay over it. Like, there's tons of rated R things in this, but you can put a Star Wars overlay and then keep it just at the cusp, which is what I think the show is doing right now.
Yeah. No, and this is a comment from one of our listeners, Tyler. And this is something I wanted to talk about, which was he said, love the episodes. I think it's hyping up some stormtrooper action here where they don't miss. So
yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be fun to have stormtroopers be a threat again.
Yes. Oh
the
man.
the vulnerability of our characters is extreme in this, and I think that is an absolute win and plus because people can die, and it would be very simple for them to die from stormtroopers. I want them to be scary. Like we have death troopers, and they're showing up in the show,
Yeah.
but I think just having the presence of stormtroopers, not making them a comedic joke, is going to be great.
Right. There's a scene from one of the trailers too, where it looks like the citizens of the planet that we've seen in the first 3 episodes, uh, where there's like some riots going on, and they got riot shields, and then they have like stormtroopers behind them, all ready to go. This show, I think, is gonna be very, very relatable, more than what we've ever seen in any Star Wars project that we've gotten so far. I was just completely blown away of what happened in the first 3 episodes and the direction that they went. What direction do you want the show go more into? Than like a more than what they've already done in those first 3 episodes that dropped.
I want to see more vulnerability.
Okay.
I absolutely don't want plot armor for this show. And when the girl's boyfriend ends up getting shot, I was like,
Yeah.
yes, great, awesome. Don't even give
Great.
didn't even give him a last word, just had his eyes open as he's been shot.
That also happened with the girl that was looking at all the that was kind of checking the
like with the blow dart guns and
yeah. I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, all right, cool. How did you feel about Cassian just walking through the ship, and he sees his reflection, and then he gets mad and he just starts smashing stuff? How'd you feel about that?
there's more to it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is just yet. I'm intrigued, but I don't think it's like my number one on intriguing on figuring out what's going on yet.
Yeah.
It's gonna have some pressing backstory, I would believe, though.
Yeah, no, I want to know how they are going to incorporate stuff from Star Wars Rebels into Andor, because at this point they are getting ready to make separate Rebel cells, because we know Phoenix Squadron is one of them, and there's multiple, Rebel cells at this time.
Mhm.
And I think we'll see that throughout the show.
Mhm.
Do you want them to introduce characters like Agent Callus, like of in this? Sorry, there's a small earthquake. It's fine. It's okay. Because I could see them definitely doing something like that.
Yeah. Here's the thing: is I think this has so much lore bait in it that it's just things that you want to know. I feel like you went through the whole like. Do you feel like you went through the series? You're like, oh, that's a cool robot. I'd understand. I would love to know more about that. That's a really cool ship. I want to know more about that. Like, there's so much here that I think that people are going to take for a long time to look at and understand and figure out and be like, oh, okay, I wonder like where did this droid come from? Where did this separatist ship come from? Where is all this coming from?
I thought the one droid where his sole purpose was being stairs was really funny. Because of the transport ship lands, and the droid just he rolls up to it, and he kind of extends like his like the top of his head, and he just like I don't know. I thought that was very interesting. I was like, wow, like they just made a whole droid that his sole purpose in life is to make people go up and down, and I just think that's funny.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of interesting takes like on different droids. Um, what do you think is the sole, like, I mean, of the main purpose, like the main job for um B2 Emo? Because he is not a astromech, he's not a protocol
I think
droid.
he's like an information
Yeah,
store. Like he's like a giant hard drive,
yeah,
but he's very. I feel like he's a very old hard drive.
yeah,
Like he's been around for a very long time, and or he's just haha. And he might be just like a cheap robot that they got
yeah.
to keep information around. And I think that's a very very cool like bit of lore. I would love to know more about him. Love to know more about him. And I think we're gonna get more episodes of him, so I'm pretty excited.
Something personal for me was some of the representation that was brought into it, and if you listen to B2, he actually does have a stutter, and I was not expecting to see another character kind of come into that. I know you're making that face, and like I felt the same way, but if you listen to him, like
This
like
is the right way to do it.
yeah,
Do not say that little Dio is autistic and be like, all right, he's autistic.
yeah,
Show me. But if you're gonna say like, hey, like this robot has a speech impediment when trying to remember things, and they do it
yeah,
really well, and if you feel as someone with a stutter that it was good representation, I
yeah,
couldn't be happier.
yeah. Uh, and I think they need more of that. I think they definitely need um, more Star Wars stuff that is relatable, because we do get a lot of that in the books and everything, but seeing that in live action, I think is something that we definitely need more of. Uh, David says that P2 Emo is like a Swiss Army butler. Yeah, I could definitely see that. Oh man, no. If you know what, this kind of has to do something with the show, but this is also like a question that I would love to see your answer. If you could create any type of droid, what droid like would you create, and what purpose would it serve?
I would love to. Whew, that's hard. I would love to see it's like a stealth assassin droid, like
Okay.
more than what we've seen so far, but something that is purely designed just to stealthily execute and then leave, or
Okay.
like an explosive droid. Something I want to see, something like a guerrilla tactic droid where it's I don't want something that's like, hey, you know, we strapped some bombs to this R2 unit. Go R2 unit, like that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I want something inconspicuously non-scary up until later. That sounds
Yeah.
cool to me. It's funny seeing how many droids fill different purposes in this universe, and it's great seeing brand new droids as well. I mean, the last time I think that we saw new droids was in, like, that was a significant one, was in Kenobi with Ned. Was it his name?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then before that, I would think was Boba Fett with the Ant Gonk droid things.
Mhm. Yeah. No, there are a lot of different droids that yeah, so they actually did a droid contest for Obi-Wan Kenobi, where they were asking fans to create a robot, like a droid, a purpose for it and everything, and then Lucasfilm would go through all the applicants and then pick one, and then they would put it in the show, and you actually see that in Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I really hope that they keep doing stuff like that, because that's awesome. That's an awesome way to get um, fans involved in the show and get them more excited for all these new shows coming up.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Um,
What did you is the guns that they are using? It has like a stun. Is that the stun? Like the circle stun? Like you know how because his gun Cassian's gun like flips like in the show, and I was wondering if it switches to stun.
oh,
Because when he's trying to get the box back, he flips it to stun to go shoot, and then the Skarsgård's character just shoots him directly, and then he turns it back around. He's like, "Oh, okay, you're serious about this? Like, I was just gonna stun him, but
yeah,
you just straight up like murdered him. I have no idea who you are. I guess you are very serious about whatever you want me to do." There's
right.
no time to really explain. We got to go. That kind of thing. I was like, wow. And it's really cool when he pulls up and looks at the ship that he's about to like jump in. And he's just like, wow, I've only been here my whole life. Like this isn't
Yeah.
this is like, this is the only technology that I've really known. And then now I'm going on this like completely tricked out ship.
Right. So in the opening of the show, he like travels to a different planet. Do you think that's his first time that he's taken a ship for a joyride and then brought it back, or do you think he's done stuff like that before?
Oh no, he sounded like he had done it before. I think he had the conversation where they're like, "This is the last time I'm letting you do this." Like, because he's like, "I gotta go wipe the computer and I'm gonna put a new one in because it was busted." And he's like, "Dude, this is the last time."
Yeah.
So I think he's been using it, but he's only really been using it to either. I think the main goal is for him to try and find his sister right now for himself.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Luthen Rael. I really want to dive deeper into his character. He's played by Stellan Skarsgård, so I'm hoping that we see more backstory to him. I think he played a big part in the Senate. I think you know
think that the main characters are all going to get the kind of flashbacky story that Cassian has already.
I think we will. I don't know if Mon Mothma will, but I definitely think that
because we saw the hair changes in
the
episodes. I don't know if if we're gonna do that as a flashback kind of thing yet, or we're gonna have like a jump forward, as I was talking about with like a jump forward in time, like Game of Thrones has been doing, House of Dragon's been doing with like little time jumps.
Yeah. Which I know that element was definitely seen in the first 3 episodes, and that's something that you wanted. And that definitely happened where
it was flashbacks, but this was consecutive. Every episode was consecutive. What I was saying is like the next episode takes place, like, let's say it's like 3 months ahead. It's like, oh, this is what's happened. He's learned all this stuff from him, and that we're training to try and start a proper rebellion. But it's interesting of how much information he knows about Cassian already.
Yeah. Something that one of our listeners says that they think that the success of Andor, with the success of it, Felicity Jones might be getting her own series next. For those who don't know, she's the actress that played Jyn Erso. How would you feel if there was like a Jyn Erso series? I think it would kind of be the same vibe as Andor, and I just don't think it's really.
It's like, how much backstory does she have? Because this, for me, like I already was kind of like, when I had just heard that he was gonna have his own show, I think you and me were both kind of like, okay, like I don't really like. I didn't think he needed it. And then now I'm sitting here going like, oh no, this is a story about the rebellion, the start.
Yeah, it's not just him. It's more because they already have a show called The Rebels, so it's not like, to be like, here's Rebels. Why don't you go watch the show? The Birth of Rebels. The like
exactly.
Yeah, it's like okay, but no, it definitely makes sense why. Jyn Erso was in Saw Gerrera's militia for a bit, but she was gone at the age of 12, and it would just be interest. I mean, I don't know. I just don't think following her story. I mean, who knows?
Because
They like, might go into.
whereas we got the amazing line, like, I've been in this fight for so long.
Yeah.
Whereas like her one, I feel like it would only be, which I would be okay with, but I don't think I don't know if it would make for an amazing series, which it would just be like her doing militia content, her doing like missions that don't feel grander, where this is definitely feeling like this show already has this grand undertone of the rebellion that's just underneath the line where Cassian hasn't hit it yet and hasn't understood, like, this girl that took him in was some of the very beginning of where it's going for the rebellion, which I'm very excited to figure out what that symbol means, because I think it is the first iteration.
Mm-hmm. The entire time that Cassian was walking through like the scrap yard and everything, I could only think about Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, yeah. I saw that. I was like, Cal Kestis, why are you not here? Why?
For real.
Because we like need him live action. Like the actor Cameron, great actor. He brought Cal Kestis to life in the game. Bring him to life in live action. He's a great actor in real life, like for like different actual film projects. Bring him in. He would bring a lot to the Star Wars TV shows, and he actually is a big Star Wars fan too. And when people get involved, that are big Star Wars fans, you can definitely see the passion when they're acting. So I'm hoping that we see him soon. Hoping Mandalorian season 3, that would be fantastic. But yeah, we'll have to see. From Tyler, he says, I feel the same way. When the show was proposed, I was like, but I absolutely love it. But some people don't think that Generoso deserves a show. There are a lot of people like different characters.
See, that's where I would like,
yeah,
if you make an anthology series and you just give her like a solid hour episode and you get to hear like one militia story where she just completely changed, and great. I love that. A whole 24 episode series dedicated to her. No, I don't need it.
And that's what they're doing with Tales of the Jedi, because you are getting that, like the full out origin of Ahsoka, the full out origin of Count Dooku and his story, which I'm very, very excited about. I started watching the trailers for all these shows, and I was watching Tales of the Jedi, and I definitely brought this up yesterday and yesterday's podcast. Which, by the way, that was so much fun having Chris Bartlett on the show was awesome, and just hearing his stories, like of being on set and everything. He not only has he done Star Wars, but he's done numerous things for Lucasfilm, and he was also a Kaelon on the show Orville, and that was really cool to talk to him about that. But I think my favorite story for him was he was talking about his experience about Max, like of working with Max Rebo, because I had to bring that up, of course, and he was trying to tell us that he got blown up, and I was like, wait, what? And then a bunch of us kind of like jumped in and we're like, well, we didn't see him in the explosion, and then he was like, oh yeah, I guess you're right, because I was like, I watched that scene like 5 times, man, and I looked and scanned and I didn't see any.
Not an actor telling you like, hey man, I was on set, I saw the script, it says Max Rebo dies, but it's in air quotes, so I know he's dead, and then you're like, you just started like, no, and then he's like, oh, maybe not, maybe he doesn't.
He also showed us a sneak peek of his droid that he'll be showing up in season 3 of Mando as well. It's a other protocol droid. But yeah, no, that was super cool. Help me out, because I forgot what I was talking about. I got so passionate there for a second.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
What do you think about the costume design for this? It reminds me so much of Rogue One already,
Okay.
and in the way it's shot and filmed. But I think that these costumes are insane. I don't know how they have, like, the budget is obviously extremely high, but I would assume that this is one of the most expensive budgets on just costuming in general. There is props everywhere. There is costumes everywhere. There's so many people with intricate details all over their costumes. Like when you see like the workers that have all their gear up on the wall, it's just a sea of different like costumes, all different colors, all different trinkets on them, different gloves, different like boots and suits. And I was like, wow, that there's just so much here that I would not doubt that this is the highest budget they've ever spent on just costumes alone.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, no. There. Okay, so how do you feel about that wall that had like all the gloves on it?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I love it because it's it's a workers colony. So yeah, imagine working on like an oil rig, but instead of it just being an oil rig, it's like the planet. The
Yeah.
planet is like that, and it's cool to see like how that functions as like a planet. We get to see our first kind of view as a proper scrapper planet in visual media, besides outside of Fallen Order. Like this,
Yeah.
I don't think we've seen it like this before, where it's like, yeah, I wake up when the dude hits the bell and I go to work and then I come back and then this is what I do. And I'm like, wow, it's really cool being able to see that and seeing all the different ships that they have in the yard that they're breaking down.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we've been seeing a lot of scrap type planets, so
mhm.
hopefully we don't get that many more because then that's going to be kind of repetitive.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So acting wise, what would you say is, do you like the acting in this show, or is it too serious for you to get into right now?
Not serious. There's okay, so there's the character Cyril, who's played by uh Kyle Soller. He's the guy that like has his security suit like super tight, like blue. He's
Mhm.
got brown hair. Um he is trying hard, bro. Like he is trying so hard to prove himself uh like as a character, and it's just funny that that he uh that he really wants to find a place in the galaxy is what it comes to, and I think he's going to join the Empire. Like I think it will. Like I think he's just trying to, he is power hungry, and that's what it kind of seems like for most of the.
Pushing forward to, yeah,
Yeah,
get more power, get
yeah,
better promotions, look better. Because
yeah,
I mean, when he has the conversation in episode 1, you can see how much passion he has towards it, and then his superior just blows him off.
yeah, and which he doesn't listen to him at all. He's just like, no, dude, like he leaves and he's like, all right, I'm doing my own thing. I don't care what you say, because he did the complete opposite. Um, and he got people killed. So we'll see what happens. Because I could see the Empire kind of swooping in and being like, I like your style. Join the Empire. And then he becomes like an officer or something.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I'd also love to see him just interact in that the blue uniform to what would be a superior to him, which would be any officer from the, like, even a stormtrooper, I believe, is a superior to
Yeah.
him technically. So
Because of they are just an extension of the Empire. They are a private security firm that was hired by the Empire to kind of look out for the other planets
it's
that
so
are
funny
on.
that they're kind of like, we don't even want to extend our
Yeah,
arm or force to put stormtroopers on your planet yet. We're just gonna like pay you,
yeah.
and you can see how much it's already failed. So did
Mhm.
you like the storyline, that overarching storyline with the space police? Space detectives, the cops.
I thought it was interesting seeing their headquarters reminded me of the Nova Corps
Yeah. Okay.
from
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy, and I just think they're trying to act like they're bigger than they actually are. Like they're trying to act more important than they actually are. And I think that's the funny thing, because if they know that they are an extension of the Empire, they're not the Empire themselves, but they're trying to act like they are. And I'm just curious of why the Empire was like, okay, here's my thing. I'm going to have the Empire put different storm troopers and different Imperial forces on these planets. But these planets over here, I'm just gonna hire a separate like company and have them deal with it. But they're still with us, but they're not. I'm just kind of curious if they'll explain that more. Because right now that's our only perception of the corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Someone said that. Oh, sorry, 1 second. Someone said that Cyril Karn just feels like he's battling inner emotions. Love the acting, and hopefully he has some flashbacks to see where his uncease is coming from. I just hope we don't get too many like flashbacks for like all these characters. I think they'll always do that for like the main characters. I mean, he kind of seems like he's going to be one of the antagonists, but I think he actually kind of reminded me of Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, in a way, because I think he's just like he's trying to fit in, he's trying to find his place in the galaxy, and he's trying to do anything in his power to get where he needs to go. And I think he is power hungry.
He's fallen. Okay, so he, in my opinion, of what I've seen, it's kind of like this is his passion. He's finally found a calling in his life, so he's fully like just into it. He's giving as much like passion as possible. And all these other people like, hey man, I've done this like cop stuff for years. Like you don't need to push it that hard. Like it was just some other people. They were making other people angry, and that's why they died. And he's just not taking that lightly. He's like, this is not how it works. This is my passion. I'm going to be an honest person. And Cassian technically is breaking the law. So in his opinion, who is a straight edge cop, not doing anything illegal yet, he's rising the ranks. He's like, I need to keep on proving myself. I need to keep on going. And he's like, he gets asked okay, how do you I forget what the character is, but he basically gets validation from the one character who tells him like, hey, like everything you're doing is inspiring the team. I 100% am so glad to have another person who's actually pumped up for this kind of thing and pushing forward for better security. And he gets more validation through that. So he's going, and then he finally gets that first proper combat experience where everything goes wrong. Basically, Cassian robs him of that.
So he will be taking his anger and emotions on him, because he's the whole point that like
this is like his origin story of where he really turns to like, I am gonna hunt this dude down. He took my people away from me, and he's probably gonna be. He took my perfect streak away from me, which is, I think that's gonna be a major key factor.
Yeah.
In the future.
Yep, I agree. I love how there was a lot of build up for these characters, and you're right. Not only was this like the origin story for him, but this was kind of the origin story for a lot of these side characters that didn't really seem to us like they were main characters. And I think we'll definitely see that grow throughout this first season. And what's nice is we are getting Star Wars every Wednesday until November. And that's a beautiful thing, because we missed that. There are 12 episodes in this first season. The
Cassian
next episode
is in 24. All 24 he's in.
Yeah.
I think he's the only character that's in every single episode currently.
Yeah. Season. That's crazy to me. Yep. So season 1, 12 episodes. The next episode, September 28th, next Wednesday, October 5th, October 12th, October 9th, 19th, October 26th, which is also the same day that Tales of the Jedi. All those episodes are dropping at once, by the way. So that's super exciting. And then episode 9 through 10 are dropping the whole month of November, November 2nd, November 9th, November 16th, and then the season finale, November 23rd, falling directly into the holidays. And then you have the first week of January, which is the Bad Batch. So we only got that month break of Star Wars, which is really cool. So it's not like we're waiting for a while. And the fact that we'll be jumping into like the first thing of next year of Star Wars, where it goes Bad Batch, and then either it's going to be Mando season 3, or it's going to be or it's going to be a Jedi Survivor, because you have 5 projects coming out next year. You've got Bad Batch season 2, Mando season 3, Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka, and then Jedi Survivor. And then season 2 of Star Wars Visions.
Yeah.
So 6. Yeah, geez, man. Oh my God.
There's a lot of Star Wars.
Yeah. But no Star Wars movies, not until 2025. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's hard for me. I don't know where that's gonna land, because here's a biggest issue I have right now with Disney Plus as a whole, is just with Marvel media, you have to keep on watching it. Yeah. It always leads into the movies, whereas at least we have the original trilogy, which this can lead into. I'm going to say that everyone's already seen the original trilogy, and you know where this leads to, you know where this all connects. Whereas with Marvel stuff, it's always new things in the future. So if you go into a Marvel movie years from now, like there's going to be all these characters and they'll start talking about things that were in a show, and you're like, I had no idea. I never watched that show. And I'm scared that Star Wars could end up that way, where it's like, you should have watched the show and you didn't get all that information. Then that's what I don't want to happen. That's why I'm really excited that's why I like this show. It's kind of like, hey, we already have Rogue One. We know where this is going. If you want to see what happens at the end of this character, you can just watch Rogue One. And
that's what a lot of people felt about Star Wars: The Clone Wars, because you follow Obi-Wan, Anakin, and it's like, oh, you know exactly what happens to him, so there's no high stakes. And Andor, there kind of is, because the only main characters that we know in that show are Mon Mothma and Cassian Andor. Like, those are the 2 main characters that we know. The other characters, we have no idea what happens to them in the timeline. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of with The Mandalorian, except in a way, Galaxy's Edge kind of not fully answered that question, but in a way they did, because if you go into Doc Ondar's and you walk in and you look up behind the wall of where you can see like the lightsabers up front, you can see his helmet, his blaster, and then like his rifle, and then you can see the chainmail that he made for Grogu in the Book of Boba Fett up there. So that question was kind of answered like through Galaxy's Edge. So it's like at some point, he like either retires, he dies. We just know he doesn't show up in the sequels. Unless somehow they say, well, actually that ship all the way in the background and that giant like space battle and Rise of Skywalker, that like ship all the way in the corner towards the right, that's him. He's an old man. Like, I
swear they've said that already, and they said it was the Razor Crest, and it's like, not anymore.
No, it's like not anymore, because you blew it up. So I don't know.
But there's so much new here that I feel like it's a lot safer as well.
I agree.
I feel like it's very hard to keep within, especially when it was during the Clone Wars. It's a marvel that they pulled it off, of how much they were able to keep in canon, and they had like set rules that they would have to follow. This is what the canon's going to be, and we have to keep it going in this direction. Whereas this show, I'm kind of like, all we really know about Cassian is he's been here in the fight since this age. Cool. Awesome. Let's take it from there. Another fun thing that I'm really excited about that we haven't really seen since the Clone Wars side is politics. And politics in Star Wars is coming back in this show. I can almost guarantee it, which is going to be fun to watch. The last even like little sprinkle that we got of galaxy-wide politics was in Kenobi, I believe. That was like the last time we saw it. So I mean, I'm pretty excited to have that politics view again.
Yeah. Do you think we'll get a some cameos from different senators that like stayed on after the fall of the Republic? Like, I mean, I feel like we would see Bail Organa. I would be surprised if we didn't. Because he definitely stays in the Senate for a bit.
We know he goes to Senate meetings. So I wouldn't doubt that you would end up seeing him.
Yeah. What do you want them to talk about? Like, do you want them to some people
I just want to see more
like
inner workings of the Empire. I don't think we've really seen what its effect is on. See, I remember when he basically has these like Palpatine's like in the new Galactic Empire, and then everyone like everyone's cheering. I want to see how people are benefiting from the Empire. I want to see when people start turning and being like, this is awful. We've seen different parts and pieces, but I want to see this from the Senate side. I don't want to see it from just the planet side.
Okay. And then this is interesting. I know where they're from, but I don't know how to say it. The
Yuuzhan Vong. It's Yuuzhan Vong.
In the next films. I mean, it would be cool to introduce them for those who don't know what that species is. It's from Legends. It was
Yuuzhan Vong War.
Yep.
Killed trillions.
Mm-hmm. That takes place after episode 7, 8. That takes place after 4, 5, and 6 in Legends, and that was pretty much like episode 8, like episode 7, 8, and 9. And we actually see Chewie die in that because of Chewie sacrifices himself to save Anakin Solo and his father Han Solo. There was a whole comic about it and book, and it was very, very sad. I don't know. I mean,
characters that I think that could pop up is like of a special character. I don't think that we'll see in the future Yuuzhan Vong, but I will think that we're building up a Thrawn story. Yeah. So I wouldn't doubt seeing in this series a mention of Thrawn.
I'm kind of hoping not. I could definitely see like Tarkin and some other Imperials, kind of like showing up or at least being mentioned. I could see Director Krennic, which I think he's already confirmed that at some point he's going to show up in the show.
Mm-hmm. I just think that's the bad, like that's the level of baddie we have right now of the highest new bad guy that we can probably push right now is Thrawn that can go towards the future. I don't think that we would be able to have a Yuuzhan Vong war just yet because it's on such a it's a whole galaxy scale of a war. And we don't have the same players to fight in it. So I don't think that we would see it. At most, I think that you could have a Thanos level event with them, but it wouldn't be on the same scale.
I agree. I agree.
But I would love to see something that challenges the Force, which Thrawn's little lizard, I forget what it's called. I keep forgetting what it's called. But it's his little pet lizard that eats the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I want to see something that challenges that. And the Yuuzhan Vong are another thing that completely challenges the whole Force, is that they are only biometric. They only have biotechnology and they reject everything else.
Yeah.
If you knew that. So like their weapons are alive, their ships are alive, their armor is alive, everything that they have, and they reject everything else.
Kind of like the flood from Halo.
Yeah, they're definitely like the flood from Halo. I think that the reason is that that's what destroyed their home planet is the technology, or they were at war with something that was technology, and that's why they hate it, or for some reason, and that's why they just keep on. They took all their planets and basically made them organic, and then took off into the galaxy.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Again, all the episodes of Andor will be coming out all the way until November. Tales of the Jedi comes out on October 26th, with all episodes dropping. I'm very excited for that. I will definitely talk about it next time, but I think we're gonna see the real dark side origin of Count Dooku in that, and the possibility of Yaddle being part of that story of where, because we don't know where she is in Attack of the Clones. We know what happened in Legends, but we know what happened in canon, and I think they're going to explain why she's not in in uh in Attack of the Clones, because she
I always thought that because he never turns fully to the dark side, because that's why he doesn't
no,
have Sith eyes.
right.
But I always thought it was just because of a political reason. But I would love to see him have the whole Qui-Gon epiphany, where he's like, "No, dude, these people have literally lost their way. Like, this is not the right way to go," and then
Yeah.
completely do his own thing. Losing faith in the Jedi and the Jedi teachings in the way, and this thing being the passion that you've had for all your life because you've been a youngling with it, is such a giant theme that I think it's going to be 100% explored in this, because we also have the Ahsoka tales. So those are the two main characters, I believe, of Tales from the Jedi. So it makes sense, and I think that's going to be the overarching theme, is losing your trust in the Jedi in the way that you've always known, and creating something new for yourself. And you have the negative, which is Count Dooku, and you have the positive, which is Ahsoka.
Yeah. That's probably the biggest project that I'm like. I mean, it's not that big. I think the episodes are going to be maybe like 15 minutes each, maybe 20, because they're releasing all episodes at once. So and they're also considered shorts. But yeah, no, I'm very excited for that show. I think they need to do more with it. I think they need to explore more characters, like Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, because it's called Tales of the Jedi. So I would love for them to explore more characters that like we kind of know, but not their full origins. I think seeing young Obi-Wan with Qui-Gon Jinn, and kind of his story, like of where it takes place before the prequels. Maybe his story shows him with Satine and they're on the run from bounty hunters and stuff. That would be really cool to see. So I hope they do more stuff like that.
To close out with Andor, do you think that I can almost guarantee that there's going to be another Darth Vader moment at the end, as in just that kind of spectacle thing? Is there any character that you think could come in and be that spectacle moment? Because I don't think okay. That would be cool.
I could definitely see the seeds of the Death Star come in, and then you see maybe near the end of the first season, or definitely the end of the second season, of where they like learn about this planet killer, and then you like see Krennic walk into a room, and he's
was it
like
only ever tested on Jedha? Was that the only that was the first time, or has it been tested before?
The first public test where a bunch of Imperials were there was in Jeddah. As far as I know, there's no record of it actually being fully tested, of where like a blew up a planet or a city or
not
anything.
Blowing up. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is I don't know, because I feel like that would be something that would happen, whereas they test it and then they realize how grave that situation is.
I could see them doing that. Oh man, like this show has so much potential, and I think we'll definitely see things where, you know, we'll probably see it coming, and then there's going to be a lot of unpredictable things. And so far, the first 3 episodes, very unpredictable. Like
Love it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And as much as I, am saying that I want more of that Star Wars vibe, it's nice to have that like that refreshing new vibe to Star Wars.
We got so many shows coming out. I think this is just a fresh, like such a fresh fruit of Star Wars. And I think that's where I value it the most, is going to be how fresh this is to being a series. Like, yes, it may not feel like Star Wars, but that's good, because I feel like we're almost at that cusp where you could easily hit burnout from Star Wars, because we're about to get into so many other shows, so many new things with Star Wars that I feel like you could have a lot of burnout with this being so fresh. Sky's the limit for new projects that come after this because of how much acclaim it's getting right now. I'm very happy.
I agree. And then to kind of dive into the future, which is actually happening today. If you're in the Orlando area and you love Star Wars trivia and you love pizza, you should come to Playa Pizza. It is right behind Magic Kingdom Cast parking lot. And we've got Star Wars themed drinks and all that fun stuff. And there is a $50 gift card and a mystery Star Wars prize, which we will announce when everyone shows up. And it's something that a lot of people are gonna like. But we love you guys. We would not be doing it if it wasn't for you. We love hearing from you. We have Patreon. We are actually recording our commentaries today for the first 3 episodes of Andor, so we're staying on top of it. And then we are dropping more book reviews. And Sabak Talk is, I promise you, it's not on hiatus. We just took a small break because there's a lot of people in our group that are moving and like doing new things, but we will be returning in a couple it'll be next week or the week after that. But there's so much content that we're doing on there. We're on Facebook, Star Wars Stuff Group and Star Wars Stuff Podcast. And then Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Twitter at Stuff Pod, TikTok, just search Star Wars Stuff Podcast. StarWarsStuff@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. Please message us on all of our platforms. And please go on Apple Podcasts and give us a review. We love hearing your feedback. We love hearing your reviews. If it's about David, go for it. Talk about it. It's all about David. And then we also have our own website at stuffpodcastnetwork.com. I don't know why I said that, but that has all of our bios and everything and our links to our Patreon, all of our social media platforms. And we're also on Twitch, SWStuff77. Guys, we love you all. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Peace out. May the Force be with you always.